Alright, let's do it. Let's break down E3 2017. What's good, ladies and gentle peasants? How are you all doing? It's over. It's done. Wow. It's been an interesting year. I've sort of run around in circles on how to go about reviewing this. I'm going to do a generic-ass wrap-up, not even just covering the Square Enix Presents in this. I'm going to leave that for a separate video, and it ain't going to be pretty. I'm going to point out the obvious, that there is a sentiment of disappointment for this E3. Now, where this sentiment stems from, I think I know why. It's not so much in the games, well, it is in the games, but there was actually surprisingly a good amount of games announced. Just looking from this E3, I've got myself a little list of games that have sold me this year, and it's actually a healthy sized list. I mean, fuck it, I'll just read it out. So my most hyped: Crash, Shadow of the Colossus, Hidden Agenda, The Impatient. 2 Until Dawn games. In case you don't know, The Impatient it seems to be an Until Dawn game. I've covered this on my stream. Metro Exodus. Anthem, Hellblade, Days Gone, Wolfenstein, Shadows of War, Lost Sphere, and the Cthulhu game. And that's just my most hyped list. That's my absolute, I must play these games. I'm so hyped for these to come out. I'll probably stick Monster Hunter on there as well. But going into my other list, Ni no Kuni, God of War, Good and Evil 2, Ashen, Life is Strange, Code Vein, Xenoblade, Fire Emblem, Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC. You're going to notice there's no sports games on here, which is probably going to contribute towards my ranking. I'm going to rank who won E3 and who didn't in a moment, because that's a thing that we do. We assess who the loser is, the degenerate at E3, and we mock them to no end, and we argue about who the winner was. I'm going to participate. Evil Within 2, Spooderman. Spooderman sold me. I think Spooderman was about possibly the best thing to appear at the Sony conference. Objectively, for me it's Shadow of the Colossus, but objectively Spider-Man stole the show. Vampire, Assassin's Creed Origins, Sea of Thieves, The Last Night. The list probably goes on. I'll probably miss some off, but just in general, giving you a feeling, there has been good games at this E3. There has been some great unveils, some great announcements. So I'm left wondering, with a list that size, why do I still have a feeling of an air of disappointment from this E3? Why did it just seem less exciting, less electrifying? Now I'm gonna just say straight out, right, I know what some people are gonna say. Oh, you're just saying it because 7 Remake didn't appear. I've had that comment. Just because 7 Remake didn't appear, that was all I was there for. You couldn't be any more wrong. I've even had some people say, Pez, you only know Final Fantasy 7, or about Final Fantasy 14, you don't even give a shit about Stormblood. Man, people have made so many assumptions on what I aren't excited for. Just because I'm a Final Fantasy peasant, and I talk about the 7 Remake a lot, Stormblood, I have been excited. Anyone who knows my channel knows I'm excited for Stormblood. Anyone who watches my channel or watched my E3 coverage, you know I'm excited for a lot of games. So what I'm saying is, fuck out of here. That has nothing to do with why. I'm going to talk about the 7 Remake not appearing at E3 at another time. But why did it feel less exciting? Why do most people, most everyone I've spoke to has felt kind of underwhelmed? I think there's quite a few factors to it. One, games that we've already seen just being shown again. You can really tell we're hitting a new age of gaming where the same game appears at an E3 2, 3, maybe even 4 times. I think there was something to do with the presentation, while all in all I think it was far less cheesy, far less cringes for most developers, except for Square Enix. If you haven't seen it, Square Enix have officially won cringiest developer at E3. Cringiest platform, cringiest presentations, just cringe. Cringe fest. Cringe! Oh god, it was so bad. Oh, it was so bad. I'm going to be doing an E3 cringe compilation, Square Enix edition. And that's kind of what's come out of it. I'm talking about Square Enix Presents. Fuck it. I said I wouldn't talk about them in this video. I'll talk about them another time. But I think all in all, the presentation was far more respectful, far more tasteful. There was less cringe from the other developers. A lot of the slots were just banging out the trailers like Sony's. They were just banging the trailers out the ballpark. None of the kind of bullshit in the middle. They got down to the games, which I liked that. But I then also think that when we go to some of the things outside of it, the Colosseum, and I know that the Colosseum, the idea was that it's going to be interviews and discussions, but most of the stuff outside of the main stages was just talking, and even I was just getting tired of hearing people talk about the games. Now, I'm a strong believer that a game should talk for itself. That the game should sell itself. Even if they were talking and showing the game at the same time, which some did, which I could tolerate those, but sometimes it was just straight talking for nearly 45 minutes to an hour straight. And the thing is, it wouldn't be so bad if most of the presenters at E3 weren't socially awkward, bumbling over their painfully scripted lines and really dry senses of humour. I think the presenters at E3 overall from nearly every platform I saw were just bad. I mean, I question if half of them were gamers. Not enough passion, not enough excitement in their voices to make me feel excited. And I was switching off most of the time. But fuck that, that's just the presentation. Let's get on to the actual what came down, what happened, who won, who didn't won. Let's get into the nitty gritties of it. So starting at the bottom of the barrel, my loser is going to go to EA. EA lost it. Lost E3. Now I realise I'm biased in my reason for this because I don't like sports games. I hate them. Can't fucking stand them, frankly. And they came out straight away with a heavily packed roster of sports games. So the FIFA, the Madden, other things they brought out that were kind of cool. A Way Out, I think that was about the best thing. It was like this Prison Break co-op game. Really liked the looks of that. And I think that was about the only new title they really showed. And while it looked good and interesting, and I certainly have put that on my list of things I kind of want to play, or at least I think I did, I don't think it was enough when packed in with FIFA 18, Madden, NFL, NBA Live, Need for Speed, and all the other sports games that they showed. But outside of those, there was Star Wars Battlefront 2. I'm going to miss things off my list here. I'm not going to go through all of it. But I think their flagship game really was Anthem. That was about the only thing that sold me. And when I saw it, I was hyped. This game looks fantastic. The graphics blew my mind. Just the general atmosphere and when that storm was going. But it's a game to me that screams downgrade. I mean, either screams downgrade or short story campaign. I mean, something about it just seems too good to be true. I feel with Anthem is how I feel about Square Enix putting on a decent presentation anymore. I don't know if I can trust it. For my next slot, I'm going to put Bethesda. Personally, it was short. They didn't show much. As far as actual presentation there, I think they had the best set. I saw quite a few of the different sets, and they had Bethesda Land, and oh my god, they went really full out. I wish they'd put as much time and effort into their actual games they showed. There's a couple of things, 2 things exact to be excited for. And that was the Wolfenstein 2 and the Evil Within 2. Now, Wolfenstein, holy crap, that's one of the best trailers at this E3 by a long shot, but it's simply not enough to carry Bethesda. There was Skyrim for Nintendo Switch, which again, we don't really give that to Bethesda. We're going to have to give that to Nintendo. There was Doom VR, there was Fallout 4 VR, Quake Champions, a Dishonored DLC. I mean, if there was anything else, I'm fucked to know where it was. But what I will give them, and why I'm going to put them above EA, is, to be fair to them, all of that's coming out in 2017. So I have to commend them for that, because one of the biggest disappointments, like I said, of E3 was how little was coming in 2017. So much was being shown for 2018 and beyond, or no release dates. But going to my next, I'm gonna have to go Sony. Now this pains me to say it because, yeah, I'm a PS4 owner and I am most excited for the Sony games. I had so much expectations for Sony this year, and there was no reason why they couldn't put on a good show. They had so much ammo to do better than they did. I mean, they even showed games outside of the Sony conference. If they'd put those in the conference, it would have been a bit much more of a stealer. We have, of course, absent titles. I'm going to say it. Where is FF7 Remake? It should have landed down in that Sony conference. I kind of feel like Square Enix might have lost Sony quite a few points. If they'd have even shown that Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer at the Sony conference, if they'd have announced a city at the Sony conference, it certainly would have been more hype. I don't necessarily think it would have done better though, because one of the biggest downfalls of the Sony slot, and by the way, this is about me being objective, out of all of these slots, Sony won it for me subjectively because of games like Shadow of the Colossus and a lot of other titles I'm excited for. But I'm being objective here and I'm pushing my personal excitement to one side. There is an issue in the fact that the only things coming in 2017 from what I'm aware of at the Sony conference was the Uncharted 4 spin-off game, which I confused for a Tomb Raider game. I mean, Uncharted 4 and Tomb Raider have always been pretty similar. Now they've got that woman who's not that, she looks like a slightly older Lara Croft. Yeah, I mean, that's the cheap replacement for Tomb Raider not being here in my opinion at least anyway. Other than that, it was the Horizon Zero Dawn DLC. That was literally it for 2017 at that Sony conference. Everything else was either unannounced dates or 2018. Now that's an issue. That is something that, you know, 60 million, or was it 65 million PS4 owners are going to look at and go, what the fuck am I playing in 2017? I mean, we really don't have much to be excited for. We know that there's going to be some fantastic games coming to the PS4. I mean, where was The Last of Us 2? Death Stranding. Again, where was that? So outside of that, Days Gone, God of War, Spider-Man, Detroit Become Human, Gran Turismo Sport, Shadow of the Colossus. Again, I've said that was my stealer for the entire E3. I am a major Shadow of the Colossus fan, and while people are arguing whether a remake's pointless, it didn't need one, it had a remaster on the PS, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I'm excited for Shadow of the Colossus. I don't give a damn whether you think it's pointless or not. That was something to be hype about, and if they do bring in new Colossi, oh, I mean, I've seen some of the Colossi. They've got some fantastic ones that they could add in. A remake implies you have to do something except a bit of skinning. You know, you can still argue it's a remake if, you know, it's been so overhauled that they've actually had to build it from the very ground up again. So technically, while they still can get away with calling it a remake, even if there aren't new Colossi, I think that's going to be a bit tacky. So I really hope they add some new Colossi. And then Monster Hunter. I haven't played them in years, but I loved them. So to see that there was really good. I think that even that trailer could have been a bit more exciting. I think we only saw a few snippets of monsters. There was mostly just the main one and Rathalos, and then they kind of cut to a what I'm saying is I think the trailer could have been better. But that's my logic for why Sony didn't do that well, despite it being my favourite at E3. I think the 2017 list is just far too small, and I think there were just so many big titles that people wanted to see that they didn't show. Things we've already seen from previous E3s, and compared to what Sony have, you know, shown us in the past. No, Last Guardian, Shenmue. I mean, yeah, even where was Shenmue? The 7 remake. Sony has, they've put themselves up on a pedestal of hype. We have high expectations of Sony. We knew in 2016 that they showed things that were still so far off. They have put so much effort into trying to win the last 2 years that they just simply didn't have enough to go out for another year. But that's fine, because next up on my list, I'm going to give it to Microsoft. So Microsoft didn't have a bad performance, you know, showing off stuff with their Scorpio. Now, while I haven't even wrapped my head around a lot of the Scorpio stuff yet, I think it's kind of exciting because it's a new hardware and it has got some people excited. I think it's, from what I've heard, the price tag is about $500, making it pretty luxury. I don't know how well the Scorpio is going to do based on that. It's powerful as fuck, it's pricey as fuck. But outside of that, that's just the hardware. Metro Exodus. Oh yes, Metro. The new Metro game had me pumped. I love the Metro games. About the most atmospheric. I love the atmosphere of Metro games. Then we had Forza, Minecraft 4K, Crackdown 3, Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2. Now, Sea of Thieves, I really like the look of this game. Ubisoft have kind of a similar game going at the moment, and people are drawing comparisons. They have something called Skull and Bones. And I've heard so many people say the Skull and Bones games is clearly the better game. Oh, it clearly is the better one. I couldn't disagree more. Sea of Thieves is far superior to Skull and Bones in my opinion. Sea of Thieves, you have your co-op friends and you run the ship together, and you can fire yourself over, and there's some exploration on land, and you really explore the high seas. You take on other people's ships, you collect booty, and by booty I mean loot. Although a pirate game where we do collect booty is much needed. I think it looks better in every way. Skull and Bones, you just kind of run your ships, and it's kind of like instanced fights, and you just battle. And I see the errors in why this game's going to fall down over Sea of Thieves. It's going to get boring real quick, especially as things like the boarding. When you board, you don't actually get to fight. It just kind of goes into cutscenes and tells you you've boarded it, whereas actually in Sea of Thieves you actually get to fight, you get to board and, you know, take on other people. So I think it's a superior game, personally. The only reason why you would think it isn't, and that the Assassin's Creed rip-off pirate game is better, is if your graphics whore. Let's go and piss some people off. Yeah. All the other games look pretty good. Crackdown 3 looked pretty good, although I think the presentation might have been off. Was that the one where they had Terry Crews just shout a lot? I think it was that one. State of Decay. I think even some indie games came out, like Cuphead and stuff, but it was the hardware. Microsoft put an effort in. Whether Scorpio's going to do well, but the Scorpio's got some great features from what I've heard. It is more powerful than the Pro. I think there's even some backwards compatibility from what I've read. And at the very top, who am I going to give it to? Ubisoft or Nintendo? Now, there's some back and forths on which one won. Between these two, and I'm gonna have to give it to Nintendo. So in second place I'm gonna go Ubisoft. They put on a fantastic performance. I never expect anything out of these guys, but this one, they brought it home. So Beyond Good and Evil 2 was a fantastic trailer. It was a hilarious trailer with that Mankey, although again it was just a pre-rendered cutscene. There was no real gameplay in it. So personally I have to see more on that, but the trailer was one of the best at E3's. Assassin's Creed Origins. I've never seen an Assassin's Creed trailer and personally been excited for it. But this was the first time I saw an Assassin's Creed trailer and gone, me likes in the looks of that. Nice. It's going back to Egyptian mythology. Assassin's Creed Origins. Good trailer. Far Cry 5, The Crew 2, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This game should not have looked as good and fun as it did. Skull and Bones, and I'm gonna say Skull and Bones still looks like a good game, and it still could be really enjoyable. Then you got South Park, The Fractured Butthole. My butthole is fractured after Square Enix presents. South Park Phone Destroyer. I think that's a mobile app game. Starlink's Battle for Atlas, Rayman Legends Definitive Edition for Switch. Again, there we go. I mean, there's so many in this list where it's XXX for Switch. Again, even just looking at Ubisoft, Steep for Switch. I haven't got on my list, but I think there was a game called Transference, which was some sort of VR game. I think that came out. I remember seeing Elijah Wood on it. But there we go. So there was a really good roster. They had a really good presentation. Plenty of those are coming in 2017. So all round, pretty solid, consistent performance. But my winner is Nintendo. This is honestly coming from someone who does not play Nintendo games. I typically am not that interested in Nintendo games. It's about my least played developer. I usually see games I really like the looks of, but I don't want to buy the latest handheld. And I've never been much of a Mario fan. I know, shoot me now. Kill me now. Just he's never appealed to me, the little Italian bastard. But watching his trailer, watching what Nintendo, this was the first time I've ever gone, God damn, I think I might have to buy a Nintendo Switch. I was actually excited just watching trailers come down from games that I've never even played or heard of. They looked fantastic. The presentation was on point. Just going through the list, Super Mario Odyssey. Never liked Mario, like I said, but watching him possess people with his little hat, Mario fans, yeah, they've got something to be really excited about. Looked like a solid, really high quality title. Xenoblade Chronicles. Now, Xenoblade is something I've always looked at from afar, so I've always wanted to play Xenoblade. I've spoken about it on my live stream so many times, but I've never wanted to, again, buy the hardware for it. I think there's an untitled Pokemon JRPG title, I think. I don't know if this news came out before or after, but I made a note of it. Do you know that it was at the presentation? What we're talking about? No, I remember hearing it now. That's huge. That's major, but not as major as the Metro Prime 4. Now, I don't think that was the only Metroid game. There was also the Samus Returns. Huge. That's what blew it out of the water. That's the winner. The Metroid brought it home. It was the shock reveal. It was the whopper. It was the big boy that carried it home, and then supported up with things like the DLC for Legend of Zelda, Splatoon 2, ARMS, Ni no Kuni, a Kirby game, a Yoshi game, Rocket League to Switch, and again, all of those other games that are coming over to Switch. In 25 minutes, Nintendo absolutely pounded their way to victory. They just slayed it. They absolutely killed it. They won E3 2017, I think by quite a margin. And there it is. I'm not going to hold you guys up any longer. I know there's going to be a bazillion E3 reviews going out. This is going to be a generic as fuck video, but this is just my personal opinion. These are my thoughts on it, my wrap up of E3. I think it was all in all really good. When I go through these games, I think it was a good E3 with good games. It's not anywhere near as bad as what people say it is when you actually just go through the games themselves. But again, combining in with the number 2018 titles, the stuff that didn't really show it off enough, combine it with even just the crowd atmosphere. This was the other thing. The crowd was dead as fuck throughout E3. There were some sets where, they got a little bit happy, but I remember E3 2015 where people were going mental. There was just real passion and enthusiasm. It felt like there were gamers in the audience, and it just made the presentations more exciting to watch, to hear the crowd cheering. I mean, the worst for this was Sony. I have never seen a more dead crowd in my entire life. I know they had some actors cosplaying the Days Gone zombies hanging from the ceiling, but was the entire crowd also participating? I mean, what was that? I mean, even when Shadow of the Colossus 2 came down, there was nothing. Even when the Spider-Man trailer, which was huge, it was hype, just nothing. Just tepid, I call this British clapping, just upper echelons of British society clapping. It was so lame. Now, I know there's been some people saying that I was there and the crowd actually were cheering. Now, some people have been arguing that people were cheering, they just had the sound of the crowd blocked out. Now, it might have been true. There might have been some really passionate fans at the back of the auditorium, but I'm going to call bullshit. The first 10 rows must have been sold to the press because they would pan to the reactions, and, I mean, I'm just going to show you. This was after Shadow of the Colossus came down. This was their face. Oh, no way. Are you... And then even if we just look at how much was exclusives, I think everything was so multi-platform. And I could get most of these games on my PC. My brand new sick as fuck PC that's come. Tell you guys, I've got a new PC out there. Oh, check it out. This was an expensive bad boy. I want to thank all of my supporters, everyone on Patreon, everyone watching this channel. You guys have actually helped me to buy this. This is going to be a working and gaming PC. It is such an upgrade. I'm going to be able to play all kinds of games coming out of E3. So yeah, thank you so much for that, guys. Going to set that up today. So see you guys again in 2018 or Gamescom. More likely. I think if E3 is not careful, Gamescom could end up really creeping up and competing for gaming event of the year. If it's not careful. Until the next video. Come out!